All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Tazed Logic podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat, the new Mortal Kombat movie. I'm so excited for it. Before we get talking into it, let's introduce everyone. Josh, introduce yourself.
Hi, Josh Graydon, filmmaker, co-host.
EJ.
EJ Costa, thanks for having me back and looking forward to this.
Yeah, we love having you. Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus Felix here. So I'm so grateful to be back, and let's talk about Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. All right. I didn't even say my name. Jake Graydon. All right, first time hosting, and I'm hosting because I love Mortal Kombat so much. All right, so right away, let's just quickly ask what everyone thought about it. We won't do spoilers just yet. We're just gonna go around everyone, get really quick generalized thoughts, and then we'll obviously talk about the cooler, spoilery things. So Josh, real quick.
I really enjoyed it, man. Like I enjoyed the original. The original, it had some good fights, some good, and some cheesy, 90s sort of action dialogue to it. And I thought, I'm not a fan of the game. I don't dislike it. I don't play the game, but I thought it really captured that essence of like fun action with like cheesy, corny one-liners and dialogue. And I just really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. EJ.
I like that. I like how they kind of took that outsider approach, like Detective Pikachu type thing, where they introduced a new guy and just like go from there to get you into the wider world of things. So pretty good way of like starting the franchise out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I almost called you EJ again. Jesus.
Well, yeah, as a person who doesn't really know much about Mortal Kombat, it's definitely serves as a great intro to the story and lore of Mortal Kombat, while still staying true to the game and telling the best story that it possibly could have.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think at first that was like a huge complaint from like a lot of like hardcore fans that they were introducing a brand new character that wasn't in any of the games. But at the end of the day, I actually think it was really a smart thing to do, because not only is they're the sorry, not only is the character's Cole, by the way, the character Cole sort of the eyes of the audience, but it's also new. It's a new character, much like the audience is new. They could have picked an established character, but I love the idea of picking a new character and having the audience learn as Cole learns. I think it was a great idea. And same thing as you guys. I thought it was like a really just fun movie. I am a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat games. I've played a lot of them, like 9, 10, 11. I've played them. And I love the world. And for so long, as cheesy and all those things that the 90s movie was, I loved it so much because it was Mortal Kombat and it was a Mortal Kombat movie. And as much as I love it, it's cooler to see kind of a higher budgeted, just different approach. I'm not saying, oh, it's better, any of those things. It's just a different approach. And I really enjoyed watching it. So now we're going to get into spoilery things. So if for some reason you haven't seen the movie, I don't know. What are you doing here? Stop watching this. Stop watching things about the movie if you don't want them spoiled. Anyway, so let's start at the opening scene, because I think the opening scene was awesome. EJ, I know you watched it prior to the movie, and I know it really hyped you up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was nice the way that they like started out in the past and how it builds up from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was awesome.
I really liked. I mean, not only was it just an incredibly well done sequence, I liked that by starting, 200 so years in the past, it adds this scope to everything that it feels big right off the bat. It definitely reminded me of like a Kurosawa film in terms of, obviously it was in feudal Japan, but also the camera work, the action of it all felt very intentional, which is a specifically Kurosawa thing, just very intentional movement throughout the entire sequence.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I definitely loved it because I'm a big Hiroyuki Sanada fan, and I know him from The Last Samurai. You know, he's in the Wolverine, and he's a pure athlete, like in itself. You know, he definitely did all of his stunts for that scene.
Yeah, it
He
was a
was great, and I loved I love, and I can't remember the actor's name. I know Jake has all of them. I loved Sub-Zero.
Joe Taslim.
Joe Taslim. I
Yeah.
thought he was great. He's great in the Raid, and
Yeah.
I hope not only that they do a sequel, but that they bring him back because he was just fucking fantastic. I loved him.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great scene, and one thing that I immediately noticed that I absolutely loved is when they started the movie. You know, they had all the Hasashis, like Scorpion's family. They're speaking in Japanese, and as soon as Sub-Zero comes in, there's this instant barrier between and difference between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Is he speaks Chinese, and I loved there was like that great moment where he was asking where Scorpion was, and his family had no idea what he was saying, and then he switched over to Japanese. He was like, "Where's Hanzo?" It was such a great little touch to show this just difference between them. And then so tragically, Scorpion like comes in from from getting water buckets and stuff. His family is dead, and I knew it was coming because I played the games, but it did not like soften that impact anymore of seeing Scorpion come in and just see his family frozen. It was such a horrible image almost, like, or that great line when the mom comes in to take care of the baby and she's like, "Oh, it's like so cold in here." I remember hearing that. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I know exactly what it's about to come." And I'm smiling about it, even though it was really sad. I'm smiling because it's still Mortal Kombat, and I'll smile at whatever happens.
Yeah, and I thought great little touch to the game that he picked up the trowel or the hoe or whatever gardening tool that was and used that as his
yeah,
dag. I don't know if that's a thing from the game, but I thought as a movie that's a great way to tie his weaponry and his martial arts to his family that he's trying to avenge. And I thought that was a really interesting way of I love in movies when you can tie themes and emotion to objects or to have these little shorthand things. So whenever he's using that, he's real. You can feel that he's using. It's being fueled by his family.
exactly.
That makes sense.
No, yeah, it was awesome, and that leads me into probably the big thing about this movie was the martial arts and the choreography and the battles. They were so awesome. I know, Jesus, you're a huge martial arts fan, and as soon as I saw the movie, the first thing that came into my mind, I was like, I bet Jesus loved this movie.
I really did. And you know, for the most part, it was actually shot pretty well. My one gripe is Cole Young's introduction scene when he's doing the MMA fight. The camera was like all over the place. Couldn't follow. I really like you could tell the choreography was good, but like I just wanted to see it.
Right.
They kept cutting away too much.
I thought the same thing the first time, then we were watching it a second time today, and I was wondering because the actor, and again, Jake, I know you have
Louis Tan.
Louis Tan, thank you. He's a terrific martial artist, and some of the choreography was looking pretty sloppy. So I was wondering if the choreography and the camera work was intentionally that way to show that he's not like an actually great fighter. Does that make sense? Because he's not a great movie. He has to train up to get there. And I was wondering if that was their sort of way of subtly putting that in. That was.
Sorry. What's your saying?
No. I no thoughts. Just
okay.
That's where I was going.
I'm assuming that's what it was, because like when you see him then like later on in the movie fight people like Molina and Goro, who we'll get into all that later. He did look like he was like really doing well, and the camera movement was aiding him. So I think it was done intentionally to show that he was kind of like washed up and not doing so well. Yeah. Okay. Again, we'll circle back to all those things, or forward back to those things. Never mind. Whatever. The English language is tricky. Whatever. Anyway.
Meanwhile, that's your first language.
Shut up. All right. Yeah, the intro with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, like when they first encounter and they first fight, I thought it was so cool. And again, as a fan of the games, just like seeing them on the big screen again together was so great. And like Scorpion picked up the spear and like threw it, and Sub-Zero like just barely got out of the way. And I love that like Scorpion just pulled it back and made like a huge cut on his face, like he has in the game. Sub-Zero has like a big cut on his face. I don't know if it was that Sub-Zero, but one of the Sub-Zeros has like a really big cut on his face, and I thought it was just a cool little Easter egg in reference to the games. And then
a really cool moment like later on in the film, like when we get that fight with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, he throws the dagger and he's like, not this time, and he's able to dodge it the second time around.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, when he like throws the spear again, this later on in the movie, and we'll go more in depth, and he pulls it back, and Sub-Zero just moves and catches it on the way back.
Amazing.
So cool. And again, that leads me into another thing that we were talking about was is the costumes. I think they and again, I love the 90s version, but some of the costumes were a little cheesy and a little dated when you go back and watch them. Which is just, again, another reason why I like that there's just a new Mortal Kombat, because it gets opportunities to do like different versions of the costumes. And in my opinion, I think these are probably the best the characters have ever looked, even like including the games. Like Sub-Zero's costume, like head to toe, is amazing. I absolutely love it. Scorpion's costume, even though he's not in his Scorpion costume all that much, I think it looks great. One thing I was kind of shocked about is like how well the masks fit them, because I have tried making Sub-Zero and Scorpion masks and it just winds up looking really big on their faces. I don't know. I think it was just a cool, I don't know. Head to toe, it was just really cool. All the costumes. Probably my favorite of any of the costumes was, and I might be a little biased here, we'll talk about that later, is Molina's costume. I just loved how it was very, what's the word I'm looking for here? It was just very simple. It like had like the little mesh on the front. Her sides were like in the back. It was just a really awesome costume. Like usually she wears like a lot of purple and pink and stuff, but I kind of like that they just made it simple and just black. It just fit with the aesthetic of the movie.
She was very, very menacing.
She was. I loved I have to scroll through her name. Cece Stringer, who plays her, because like I've seen interviews with her. She's like a really nice human being. And so it's cool anytime you see like a really nice human being play like a menacing, dark villain. There's just something about it that I always love seeing. And then yeah, we get introduced to Cole Young, who, like I said, is a brand new character to the mythology of Mortal Kombat, and he's played by Lewis Tan. And I think Lewis Tan does a great job. Everyone really in this movie does a really terrific job, but I think probably the standout to me was Lewis Tan. And I think introducing a new character and sort of kind of asking fans of the games and stuff to fall in love with a new character can sort of not necessarily backfire, but I think sometimes it can be like a tall order. Like let's say we're making a superhero movie and the main character is a brand new character, never existed before. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just sometimes it can be hard to have fans like fall in love with them. And I think Lewis Tan did great. To me, his acting and his martial arts and all that stuff was probably the standout of the movie to me. I don't know how anyone else felt, but I just loved it.
Yeah, I really enjoy him. I've followed him on social media and stuff since Deadpool 2, and he just seems like a really nice and fun guy. So to get a nice standout role like this, just it's really nice whenever you see good actors who don't always get the spotlight get a spotlight like this, and I love to see it.
Right. Yeah, dude, I forgot he was in Deadpool 2. Who was he in Deadpool 2?
He was Shatterstar, one of the, like, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Deadpool 2, one of the like 15 superheroes who got killed on the drop down.
Yeah,
he was the one
right.
who had like the big red ponytail that went up over his head, bright white suit. Yeah,
right.
Rewatch it. He's pretty good in that too.
Nice. Okay, I completely forgot about that. All right.
Yeah, if you guys are hungry for more Lewis Tan, he's in if you're a big like martial arts fan, he's in Into the Badlands. Like the best way to describe that show, it's like Mad Max meets The Matrix. And he's also in season 1 of Iron Fist. He's the drunken fighter. And not a lot of people know this, but he actually was almost cast as Iron Fist. Like
Really?
What?
he auditioned for it, but he didn't get it. But he showed up in an episode. He was the drunken fighter that Danny Rand had to defeat way back in season 1.
I have to rewatch that.
Yeah, I want to see him now.
I really enjoy him. And no disrespect to Finn Jones, but if they ever recast him, he should be the new Iron Fist.
And then we get introduced to probably my favorite fight scene in the whole movie is Sub-Zero fighting Jax, where Jax is trying to get Cole's family out of the way. And he's like, all right, you guys get away. I'll take on Sub-Zero. And Sub-Zero like sneaks into the building. He's looking for him. He even has that line. He's like, all right, we're going to play hide and seek now. And since he's aiming his gun, and Sub-Zero just comes out of nowhere and slaps his hand on the shotgun. And as soon as he fired, just the whole thing completely freezes. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Even like the detail as the buckshot's just freezing as it's flying slowly.
Absolutely, it was so awesome. And then
the CGI, when the bullets were frozen, the CGI looked really, really great.
Yeah. I think the CG overall was actually really good. And for a movie that had a pretty small budget, I don't remember what it is. It's something like 50 million, which is really small for a movie of this size. I think they absolutely used like every single dollar of it. Like you can see it all up on the screen. Especially when Sub-Zero then grabs Jax's 2 arms and in the most sickening thing ever, just like slowly freezes up his arms and then just snaps them off. And like, if that wasn't enough, then he just like tilts him and pushes him over like a story, and then he just smacks his head on something. I don't know how that didn't just kill Jax.
Yeah, that gets me to like the fatalities. The fatalities in this movie were like really great. I know I've seen you play the game before, and I've seen the fatality sequences, and this movie definitely delivered on that front.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Probably my favorite fatality. We'll probably all right, you know what? That's what we'll do right now. We'll go over everyone's favorite fatalities in the movie because I can't wait to talk about them. So my favorite in the whole movie is we introduced his character Kung Lao. He's obviously got like the hat with the razors all over it. And he throws his razor at Shang Tsung and he like gets out of the way. And Shang Tsung then calls on his minion Natara and he's like, kill him. And she like starts flying down at him. He jumps up like onto her back. He summons his hat onto the other end of the arena and it starts spinning. And he just like glides her and guides her into the hat and just saws her completely in half. It was like, I was not expecting it at all. Cause I was like, I played the game. So like I knew Natara was kind of a big character. So it just came completely out of left field for me. And it was so good. It was so awesome.
Flawless victory.
Yeah. And then he says that awesome line. Yeah, just flawless victory.
Dude, that was just, I mean, that's probably my favorite too. That was just fantastic. Like I was sitting there, each beat of that scene was like the hat flew back and I was like, whoa. And then it goes into the ground. You're like, oh my God. And then it starts spinning. You're like, are they doing this? Like, is he just going to cut her in half with this hat? Like who thought of that? Who was like, he's going to cut her in half with a hat? Like,
I love that they didn't hold back at all in this one. They just went for it.
All. No, it was great, man. Like, again, I hope they get a sequel. I hope they get a bigger budget because just, wow, that was amazing. And all of the fatalities were kick-ass.
I think my favorite fatality, I'm not sure who he was fighting, but Liu Kang, he summoned like the fire dragon and just like...
Yes. Favorite character in the movie in terms of a design standpoint was Cabal, was the guy Liu Kang was fighting. It was just everything from his little I guess blades. I don't know what those weapons are. They were like kind of swords that he was using. His mask I thought was really cool. His voice was awesome. Like the guy who was playing him physically and then the voice were two different people. And I think they both did really excellent with the character. Even like his awesome red eyes. Did anyone like have like a favorite character in the movie?
Kano.
Okay.
He was so good, man.
Yeah,
he definitely Kung Lao. I feel like he just looked so cool. His presence was so cool on screen too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved I think first time it was Kano and the guy with the red bandana. I can't remember his name.
Liu Kang.
Liu Kang. I don't know anybody's name, okay? I just enjoyed the bloody fights and the action, okay?
See, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like, no one knows the names, and I'm the one who has to come up and say, "Oh, it's Liu Kang."
Yeah, if I was running, it would be. And then what's his name? Punch what's her face in the face and threw the hat at what's his name? That would have been the whole podcast. And then watching it the second time, I think Scorpion was my favorite.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I honestly found myself just being like starved, like for Scorpion. Like I kind of wanted to like see like more of him in this film.
Yeah.
Scorpion
spinoff. I would watch that.
Yeah, I think if we get something else, I want to like focus more on like the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, because I really feel like that was pushed to the background in this film.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was so much happening, but yeah, like I definitely would have wanted to have seen more of it.
Yeah, this definitely now this is a difficult thing. People, you know, because now we live in an age where we have like Avengers movies and Justice League movies, but people forget it's very difficult to manage like a lot of like maybe 6 over 10 different characters teaming up together, like people who have like successfully done it right. You're Bryan Singer with the X-Men and Joss Whedon with the Avengers. It's difficult to devote uh the right amount of screen time for each character, and then add all of those characters should have like, you know, character arcs going through the story, and it's not something that's easy to get done, and I think that's probably where this film like struggled for me, you know.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I absolutely agree. There are a lot of characters, you know, aside from just like the ones we've talked about, you know, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Cole. You still like you had Liu Kang, Kano, Kung Lao, Raiden. We haven't even talked about Raiden. You had Raiden, and then you had all the villains, Shang Tsung, Reptile, Molina. Like there were a lot of characters in this movie. So I do get why, you know, I absolutely get why certain characters couldn't get like the spotlight or anything. But I'm really hoping that in a sequel they bring a lot of them more so into the leading roles and kind of let the others just go to the side a little bit. Yeah, so let's talk about Raiden actually, now that I bring him up. So again, I love the 90s movie. However, this Raiden was, I just think visually probably the best the character Raiden has ever looked. Like I loved that they had his iconic cap, but it wasn't exactly straw like it usually is. It was almost like metal, which was really cool. Like it was like forged with all those awesome designs and stuff. I think again his costume, much like everyone's, is really good. I think the actor really nailed it, and you know he wasn't in it a whole lot. And I'm kind of hoping if they get the chance to do a sequel, I would love to see more from Raiden because he's like this big, imposing, badass character. And I would have just wanted to see a little bit more from him. I don't know how you guys feel about Raiden, but
yeah, Raiden and Kung Lao were frisbee bros.
Yeah, and then one thing I almost completely forgot to talk about, but I want to talk about now that we're like in the discussion of Raiden's temple and all those things. When they start training, I thought that was just an awesome scene when Liu Kang was like, "All right, everyone, listen up, your training's begun," and like they're fighting, like Kung Lao and Cole are fighting, Kano and Liu Kang are fighting. I thought it was a really fun little again, just Easter egg. The move that Liu Kang kept doing on Kano when he kept like dropping low and sweeping him is something you can actually do in the games. It's always seen as like this really cheap thing to do. And I love that Kano called him out too. He was like, "Is that the only thing you know how to do?" It was just like a cool like little Easter egg for fans of the video game.
Yeah, we're calling out all the button mashers who do that.
Listen,
Stop.
listen, I'm a button masher too, so I will not comment on it.
If it works, it works.
Exactly. That's what I say. If it works, it works. Get off my back. And in the middle of all their training, then what's his name? Kano like comes in and like lasers out the protection spell that Raiden is cast on all the places, and then all the village just like use that weird smoke teleportation in, and it was so awesome. I don't remember. I was gonna be like, where was Cole Young while all this was happening? He was like back with his family or whatever. And
Yeah, back with his family or whatever.
he was back with his family.
Being a responsible parent or whatever.
Listen,
you know,
who cares about responsible parents? I want to watch him beat the shit out of someone. I don't care if he's a responsible parent.
So it's not the kid.
Exactly. Oh my god. And I love that I love that Shang Tsung came in. Again, first of all, he was another one I'd love to see more of in a future movie because I love the actor Shin Han, and I love the character Shang Tsung, so I'd just love to see more from him in a future movie. But I love how he like sent his minions off all over the world to fight them, and like all over the compound where they're all staying. Like Cabal was fighting Liu Kang, Molina was fighting Sonya, and the big one is he sent Goro to fight Cole and his family, and it was so fucking awesome. Like so fucking awesome. I remember like just the awesome visual of like you see because you don't know who was sent after Cole. So you just see the smoke coming out of his garage, and Cole's like, who the hell is that? And you see like the one hand come out, and then the other hand, and then right below it, the other two hands, and he just slowly opens the door, and out walks fucking Goro. I never thought I'd see Goro in another movie, and it was just so awesome. I love his design. I think the CG was really good on him. I don't know. He was just awesome. I don't know what you guys thought about Goro, but he was so cool.
He was just like so imposing, like his like sheer size and strength. And there's this one sequence where he's holding Cole with one hand, and he's punching him with the other three hands at the same time. And you know, I'm a big Ben 10 fan, and there's like he transforms into four arms. And one of my biggest complaints is that he never like adequately uses those like four arms to this ability.
Right.
And Goro, he's using them. Like that's just like something that I wouldn't think of, holding them up with one hand and beating them with the other three. Like, and each hit, the impact of it, you really felt it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think they pushed that even more by having, when he got his special powers or whatever, his gold suit would like glow red gold whenever he got hit. So I feel like you felt those punches even more.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved just how inventive the filmmakers and everyone were with all the characters' powers. Like I said before, we had that awesome shot when Sub-Zero like uses ice powers to stop the shotgun blast. Kung Lao, like we just said, like would throw his hat onto one side and like glided Natara into it. I think they were just really creative with all the characters' powers, because in the games they're really creative with how all the characters use their powers and stuff, whether it's in the fatalities or just the regular moves. And I loved seeing that the filmmakers were just as creative when they were doing it for their movie. I thought it was just a really cool thing. One character that unfortunately was not in it all that much, and I wanted to be a little more creative, wound up being my favorite, and that is Molina, who was, I think, in it maybe 3 or 4 scenes, maybe. I think she only had a couple lines of dialogue. But
this is going to be the part where Jake simps about Molina.
When he posts this, it's just going to be Molina conversation featuring a small discussion about
Mortal Kombat, just like in the tiniest letters under. Listen, I will take no judging me for simping over Molina. Anyway, now I'm like put on the spot. Anyway, I think she was so awesome. To me, she had like one of the coolest moments in the movie. Like when she was fighting Sonya and she stabbed her with one of her sides, and she threw her across the room, and she like jumped on top of her and she like yanked the sai out of her and just like licked it. That was like the grossest but coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like so cool. Or her her big moment, her awesome moment, where it's in the finale. I realize we're jumping over a lot, and I made notes to stop this from happening, but I don't know. I just love this movie too much. Probably my favorite moment in the movie. And I can say this without any question. My favorite moment in the movie is when she's fighting Cole at the very end. And Cole like punches her like right in the face, and she lands on the ground, and she just like sits up and like opens up her jaw, and like all the stitches across her mouth just open, and you see like just how far back her teeth are. And she like jumps up and is like teleporting all over the place. She's like biting on its weapons. And it was the greatest thing ever. And then fucking stupid Sonya had to come in and like blast a hole in her, which was awesome. Don't get me wrong, it was really cool. But I was like, oh, that's cool. You could have had clearly Molina was the main character of this movie. You could have had her do a little more. I'm seeing the judgment in Jesus' eyes right now. Anyway, we'll move on to a different character. I could talk about it the entire podcast. Anyway, I'll end it off as I think the actress did such a great job. She wasn't in it all that much, but I think she did much like everyone else. They just did very well with everything they were given. And like Jesus said, he had that awesome moment in that same fight where Liu Kang like summons the dragon out of the ground and just bites Cabal in half, and like his upper half is just on fire, like burning everywhere. It was so cool. What else was going on at that time? I don't even remember. Oh, Jax was fighting the big guy with the hammer. His name is escaping me right now.
I thought you had a list of all the names.
I did have a list of all the names. Reiko. His name was Reiko.
You're so unprofessional.
I know. His name was Reiko. Yeah. First of all, I love that they before all this happened, that Cole like had the plan of like splitting all the villains up, because like they were way more prepared than them. And so I love that they, much like the games, like they all had like sort of one-on-one fights with everyone. I think that was really cool. Like Jax and Reiko, we said Liu Kang and Cabal, Cole and Molina, Sonya and Kano, which was really awesome. Overall, the Sonya and Kano, I think, were probably like the more like entertaining parts of the movie. Like I think, wait, what?
There was a great line that I chuckle at every time, is when they're talking about the dragon tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget exactly what it was, but she goes something like, he's like, oh, where's your dragon tattoo? And she's like, I don't have one. And like from the background, you can just hear Kano going, wah, wah. Is that so funny?
It was,
yeah. It was hysterical.
Yeah, I feel like there were like various points in this film where like Kano sort of like almost acted as the voice of the audience. I know there's one point where they're like talking about the history of Scorpion, and he's like, who's that? Never heard of that guy. Or when he's fighting Liu Kang, it's like, is that the only move you know?
Yeah,
like, little moments like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think all the characters were handled well. Whether they like had a lot of screen time or anything, there wasn't like a character I was like, oh, that character was handled poorly. Some characters just like had more screen time than others, but I think overall all the characters were handled like very, very well. I loved the great scene of what's his name, Shang Tsung, when he like sucks in Kung Lao. And it's probably the saddest part of the movie because it was so out of left field when he like picks up and grabs Kung Lao and just like, your soul is mine, just like sucks his soul out of him. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was totally fine with all the villains dying. I was totally fine with that. I didn't want any of the heroes to die. I was like, that's just sad. And then like I love that Liu Kang like took the little the sash that was on the top of his hat and like used that as a sort of like a headband. I think that was just a really cool moment. And then that kind of leads, there's like no segues at all here. I'm just talking about whatever. But that kind of leads us into the finale of the movie, which probably has the coolest fight in the movie, where Sub-Zero is like was taunting Cole to come fight him, and he sees that like he has his family all frozen up, which is like so like scary, because like at first I was like, oh my god, they're dead. I thought like they completely died just because he did the same thing to Scorpion's family. And I love that he's like fighting Sub-Zero and all these things, and he's clearly weaker than Sub-Zero. Like he's like freezing all of his weapons and stuff. And I love that he pulls out Scorpion's like old weapon that Raiden had given him, and it like sets on fire, and you're like, what did that do? Did that do anything? And Sub-Zero like raises his hand to go and kill him, and you just see Scorpion's spear like go right through his arm, and you hear the music come in like the din 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 din, din. And right behind him, Scorpion's like, get over here, and like pulls him out and like through a gate. It was the greatest.
I was fanboying out.
Oh
Like
my-
I was losing it. That was amazing. And then Scorpion has the single most badass line. And if I ever have to use a one-liner, I'm saving it in my head because this is the greatest one of all time. He goes, I have risen from hell just to kill you.
Oh my God, yes.
Badass.
So bad.
One of the most badass one-liners of the last 10 years.
Absolutely. It was so awesome.
And then the whole fight, like the moment from the trailer that everybody loved, where he gets stabbed and the ice dagger, and he stabs him again with the frozen blood, and it's just like, talk about the use of their powers. It was just so cool and so brutal, and just everything I would have wanted from a Mortal Kombat movie.
Absolutely.
But
it was. So
And I love that they're fighting in an MMA gym at the end too. It's hilarious.
yeah, exactly. And then they end up in a ring, which is very much like the stages in the game. And I thought that was a cool homage that they had. Overall, I mean, just an insane fight. One small thing, and it doesn't take away from it. It was badass. It was amazing. You have this guy who speaks Japanese, has been in hell for 200 years, and the first words out of his mouth are perfect English, modern English. Get over here. And I'm like,
I mean, he had like 4,000 years to learn English.
what?
He had like 4,000 years to learn English.
He did. There was a dictionary or something.
Yeah, maybe he had like a Duolingo app like right next to him. Is like, what would this translate to? Okay, get over here, and then threw it.
And he threw it, and he pulled him in. He was like, I have to make sure my grandson, who speaks only English, knows how badass I am.
Exactly.
That's how it worked.
That was a cool thing too, I must say, is like that they connected Cole to Scorpion. I thought that was just an awesome little thing. Like that's not at all from the games or anything, but it was just a cool thing, and I thought it was a really awesome addition. And then you have the final fight of the two of them like double teaming against Sub-Zero. Don't get me wrong,
So-
I love Sub-Zero so much, but it was so cool watching them kill him.
Just kick the crap out of him.
Yeah,
And then
Especially that fire breath.
yes, he does the classic fatality.
that was beautiful. And it like just like I thought like he was gonna like rip his face off like he does in the game, but he like pulls the mask down, and like the fire burns away at his face, which was just like so cool.
Yeah.
Again, this is why like I would love to have seen so much more of his character. It was just so enjoyable every second he was on screen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought it's so great. I loved it. Pretty like I said, is this like a what I say, a perfect movie? Probably not, maybe or maybe not. But what it set out to do, it absolutely accomplished. It wanted to give fans this new Mortal Kombat, this different take on Mortal Kombat, because they wanted it to be different than the 90s version. Otherwise, there's no point in making it if you're not going to make it your own. So I love that they had just enough of new things and just enough of familiar things to create this unique experience, really. And like really casual fans, I know are loving it. Hardcore fans I know are loving it. It's just like, to me, this perfect mix of old and new combined into just a new experience for this movie. And I really love it.
To anyone who is upset that they introduced a character who wasn't in the canon of the game, I just want to remind you that Harley Quinn was not a comic book character at first. She was created for Batman animated series, and her character blew up, and then they started incorporating her into the comics, and now we got her. Now she has her own comic run. We got her in Suicide Squad. So I just want to say, give Cole Young a chance, because he might be the Harley Quinn breakout character of the Mortal Kombat universe.
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it, actually. I actually really like that. Because to me, I couldn't say. Because to me, he's already a great character. I'd like to see him in some of the games. I'd love to see down the line, maybe see him show up in one of the games. Yeah, he's a great character. I love the very end of him, like when he's now like sworn in with everyone else to be part of the group. And he's like looking for champions. He's like, oh, I'm headed to Hollywood. And the trainer was like, oh, what's in Hollywood? And he's like, not what, who's in Hollywood? And he walks away, walks past the poster for Johnny Cage. I thought that was so cool. And then right from there, it cuts to black, and you just see the Mortal Kombat dragon, and the music comes in, and you're feeling pumped. I don't know. I feel like
I really am a sucker for a movie that heavy-handedly sets up a sequel. I really am. I know it can be dumb sometimes, but man, I really am a sucker for that.
Yeah.
When they throw it up and they swing, and you're like, and then the credits roll, and you're like, man, I can't wait for that sequel.
Absolutely, because they did it. They didn't really do it throughout the movie, but they did it a lot at the end. You had that whole thing with Shang Tsung where he's like, "Oh, next time I see you, I'll come with armies." And I was like, "Why don't you just fight him here?" He's like, "Oh, because I want to be in the sequel." So he just walked away. And then he like took all his minions with him. Like he took Sub-Zero's body, took Goro's body. We knew they were coming back anyway. We knew they were not permanently dead. Yeah, it was, again, overall wonderful movie. I've been so looking forward to it for so long. It's been said many times throughout this podcast, but I'm a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, and I loved the 90s movie. I play any of the games I can get my hands on. I have costumes that I've made, that Josh has made, that I wear probably more frequently than I should.
He was just lounging yesterday in his Sub-Zero costume.
Yeah.
Like, I was on my computer and I looked up and he was just hanging out on the couch in full Sub-Zero costume.
Sweet.
At some point we should do like a fan film.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Because you and I know like actual martial arts, so like we could actually kick the crap out of each other.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but a simulated kicking the crap out of each other, sure.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, I was dedicated to my art, Josh. I don't know about you.
Yeah, method acting, guys.
Yeah, method acting. I'll kick the crap out of you.
Method fatalities. You go away on felony charges, but it's worth it.
Yeah, but it's worth it. Can there be like a fatality clause? Like if you do it cool enough, you can't get put in jail.
Yeah, that should.
No, not at all should be a thing.
I have questions.
What lawyer in the world, or what legal person in the world would draft that law?
Sub-Zero. He walks in with a suit and tie, the mask on, and everything. He's like, "All right, I'm here for my homeboy. I'll defend him." Oh my god.
It was badass, Your Honor.
Your Honor, it was.
Your Honor, my client pleads that it was badass.
Your Honor, my client did say he was told to finish them, so it's out of his hands. Oh my goodness. All right. So before we wrap this up, I'm gonna do a quick round. I'm gonna go around asking everyone what their favorite character is, and then if they had a favorite scene in the movie, and then we'll sort of wrap this up. So, Jesus, did you have a favorite character and scene?
All right, so for me, my favorite character was Liu Kang. I just thought he was so cool, and his fights were so like the choreography was just perfectly well done, and the actor is like sculpted. My favorite scene would definitely have to be in the finale when Scorpion comes back. Sorry, and he's like, "Get over here!" Like it was just so cool.
Yeah, awesome. I love all that. Josh.
I got to go with Jesus on this one. Liu Kang, I think, was my favorite character. I really enjoyed him. The choreography, everything was just so awesome. He was a likable guy. And then my favorite scene was the opening scene. I mean, just so well done. Like, I mean, from beginning to end, just a great way to start the movie off, and I thought it was great.
Right.
Yeah.
EJ.
Well, Kano for like the comic relief stuff, but Scorpion was definitely my standout. And when he did the fire breath and the skull thing, that was definitely the highlight there for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was awesome. All right, so my favorite scene, all right, I have two actually, because it changed when I first watched it. When I first watched it, it was the opening scene. And then the second time I watched it, my favorite scene was when Cole Young and Sonya are fighting Reptile, and he's like invisible, running around the room, and they're like having to try to fight him. And then you guys know what I'm gonna say. My favorite character in the movie was Molina. Listen, she was in it for all of probably 5 minutes, but it was the best 5 minutes of the movie. Don't at me. All right, everyone. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. First of all, coming in and doing the podcast. Thank you for everyone for listening. We can't wait to do it next time. Don't know what our next movie is going to be, but it'll be a lot of fun next time we do it. All right. Bye, everyone.